we didn't really expect, right? We didn't really expect the outcomes that we got, right? We had a feeling that maybe Trump would win, maybe Harris might win. There was kind of like a 50-50, right? But we never quite thought that Trump would really hit that, overwhelming, trifecta. And if you all were, like me, or kind of had the same reaction as me, I kind of felt a little sad, a little depressed, not gonna lie. But looking forward, we've got to have a little bit of hope, right? We've got to have this hope in this face of the fear that we are all feeling right now. And frankly, DSA, as a member of DSA, I feel this hope. As we organize into 2025 and to beyond, we have to have this hope. In spite of the fear that we are all feeling, we have to hold on. And that hope is much more palpable, and it's much more realistic, and it gets stronger and stronger as we hold hands, as we lock arms with our comrades and take our steps forward. And tonight we're going to hear how we are doing just that in DSA. So to kick us off tonight, I'm going to pass our virtual mic over to one of our incredible co-chairs, Ashik Siddiq. So Ashik, take it away.
Hey, comrades. This is such an incredible turnout. We have almost 1,000 people right here on Zoom with us, and then hundreds more on YouTube, which is incredible. And you are just a fraction of the almost 3,000 members who've joined DSA just in the past week since Election Day, which is amazing. And this is one of the largest calls we've done in years. So this is just showing how much energy there is in this moment for a real alternative from this two-party system. And we have to figure out now what the hell we're doing together in the years to come. So my name is Ashik. I'm one of the co-chairs of DSA. I'm based in North Carolina. And I joined DSA 8 years ago in early 2017, which is when Trump was elected the first time. I had been organizing for Bernie in his 2016 campaign. And after that ended, after Trump got elected, I was just, so many other people, just trying to figure out, okay, what do we do now? I guess we're socialists, but what does that mean when Bernie Sanders isn't running for president? So DSA grew really quickly in those years in a time of a lot of fear and uncertainty about what happened. We were afraid that fascism was rising in this country, and what do we do? And in a lot of ways, we got lucky. Like, they weren't that powerful. They were pretty incompetent, and they didn't get to do a lot of the things that they said they would do. But they might be better prepared now than they were 8 years ago, and that's pretty frightening. We know after his first administration and after the way he's been campaigning for years now that they're escalating. The right-wing forces are more intense. They're better organized. Their social base is stronger in a lot of ways than they were 8 years ago. And just in the past few days, we're getting all this news about how all these appointments are being made to all these departments. You have people like Elon Musk that are being appointed to seats. And it's just really making absolutely clear that the US is ruled by a billionaire class who are like parasites, right? I mean, RFK, Robert Kennedy Jr., is getting appointed to the health department with a literal brain parasite. It's so crazy. But yeah, so it's not a surprise. We know what Trump is going to do. He's a billionaire. He's an imperialist. He's a scab who's been selling out workers his entire career. And all these people that are being appointed are making like almost comically clear how little their wealth is tied to the value of things they produce versus what they can force our government to give them, whether it's extracting from our taxpayer dollars or from the labor of so many workers. But what have Democrats done? Like, why did Kamala Harris fail to become president? And look, I voted for Kamala Harris. I live in North Carolina, which is a swing state. A lot of our members, especially in swing states, made that choice because we thought it's more possible for us as socialists to go on the offense and organize to win things for the working class against Democrats than against the right. It's better to go on offense than on defense. But we really have to ask a lot of questions, especially after this result. Like, why did Kamala Harris lose after raising $1 billion for this failed campaign? And that money didn't come from people like you and me. It came from not just the typical Democratic donor class, but this year we're finding out all these things like the cryptocurrency billionaires, the people profiting from all this artificial intelligence stuff that's apparently boiling entire lakes and accelerating the climate crisis for no clear value. Like, nobody's asking for this stuff, but suddenly it's everywhere. There's people like Haim Sabin, who's an Israeli billionaire who got rich off of Power Rangers. So not like I'm not sure why that was worth $1 billion, but his only condition for supporting Democrats is unwavering support for funding to Israel, even after a year of genocide in Gaza. So the Democrats didn't help themselves by catering to these people instead of the needs of working people after years of inflation and cost of living going up in so many ways. After a year of genocide in Gaza, you'll hear from comrades like Layla Al-Abed from the Uncommitted campaign talking about how so many Arab and Muslim and Palestinian voters have been sold out. Um, so for all these reasons, there's been a historic de-alignment this year. That's an ongoing trend. There's a de-alignment of the multiracial working class from the Democratic Party. Like there are segments of people of every identity group that Democrats have taken for granted who are just not voting at all, or some are even voting for Trump. Because they just don't see a point. Like I have so many people in my own extended family who are Muslim immigrants who have been loyal Democrats for years who just didn't vote this year because they really didn't feel like it was worth it. Um, so what are we doing differently? What is the DSA difference here? You remember, like I mentioned, Bernie Sanders. You've heard him railing against the billionaire class. Like we supported him twice for president, and we were inspired when he said, "Not me, us." And we're building an organization now that demonstrates that way beyond one person, way beyond the people who we have in office, who, by the way, are the most socialist electeds in office than we've had in a century. And they're operating more and more as a bloc around the country. So you'll hear from comrades who are in office on this call, who will demonstrate what kind of organization we're building. We're the largest socialist organization in the US in many generations. We have tens of thousands of members across all 50 states in 200 chapters all over the country. And we're building an independent working class organization that is functioning more and more like a party of our own. We're showing all over the country how socialists have to lead. And Trump and his MAGA administration may be better prepared than 8 years ago. They're stronger than they were 8 years ago, but so are we. So you're going to hear on this call about people we have in office who are operating more and more as a bloc, as class struggle candidates, and showing how they're powerful because of all the other ways that we organize. You'll hear from our labor organizers, tenant organizers, people organizing for a Green New Deal against the climate crisis, people organizing for Palestine to end the embargo against Cuba, for trans rights and bodily autonomy. And all of these comrades on this call are just a fraction of our tens of thousands of members who represent the spread of work we're doing in this moment and why workers deserve more. And we're organizing for a political program beyond just one election cycle. You can check it out at our website, 2024.dsausa.org, which we'll have to update soon because it's going to be 2025. And you'll hear all about why you should plug in as a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to the first speaker, Kayla Matos, who is an alderperson from Ithaca, New York. So here's to Kayla.
Kayla, I think you're
I'm
unmuted.
so sorry. I was muted. Okay, now, hi everybody. Like Ashik said, my name is Kayla Matos, and I'm a city council member for Ithaca, New York. So shout out to our Ithaca DSA members. So yeah, when I first got elected last year, I took on a council member who had put forth policies to sweep encampments, to threaten the funding for the Black Community Center I work for, and squash tenant protections. And so my DSA chapter rallied around me because we all knew that we stood to gain from taking on an incumbent who are incumbents who aren't serving the working class in our community, and we had to be here twice. We won the primary, and then during the general election, she switched her political party to independent and reran. And when we looked at her donation rolls, we were going up against some powerful conservatives. So we had landlords who wanted to undermine tenants. We had car dealership owners who always talked about cracking down on crime, and like every mansion on the Hill supported her campaign. And so one of the parts of the electoral program I'm proud of is that we run socialist candidates as a slate, and we bring together left organizations to do it. And then when we're in office, we govern together. We research the issues, we come up with the solutions, make proposals. Oh, I'm so sorry, my dog just fell. Make proposals and organize our colleagues as a slate of electeds and a team of volunteers. No one else in our town has the political muscles as we do. And actually, my opponent acknowledged that in an interview after our election last year. And that's what makes DSA different. Because we're organizing inside and outside, we're dedicating volunteer hours to it, and we're focusing on unity. And we're going to do that. And so what are we going to do now that Trump's elected? We're going to keep it up, and we're going to keep getting stronger. Our DSA chapter has reached out to hundreds of new people in the last few weeks, and they're going to help us run for the new seats in the city and county government next year. And so we're going to knock thousands of doors, and we're going to organize our neighbors with an electoral vision that actually benefits poor and working class people, that addresses a systematic racism. And we've got a good record to run on that shows that. We've been able to pass the biggest expansion on tenants' rights in the last 50 years with good cause eviction. We begun the process for reparations for Black Ithacans. We made Ithaca a sanctuary city for trans healthcare as well as abortions, passed resolutions calling for a ceasefire in Palestine. And this year, we actually got to steer the city's budget process directly and indirectly, which was really, really cool. And if you're not already winning these kinds of wins in your chapter, or even if you are, you should be coordinating with the rest of DSA. We can win if we organize, and we have to be in coordination across the country and sharing our resources. There are going to be links dropped in the chat that have information about how to get involved in DSA's national electoral work and great membership to run transformational campaigns. So thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kayla. It was fantastic to have you speak. It's always so amazing to see you. We love our socialist electeds everywhere. We also love our socialist pets. Now, speaking about hope and our future, let's talk about the hope of the world. That is the cause of labor. Up next is our amazing comrade, Sarah, who is the co-chair of our National Labor Commission. Sarah, take it away.
Thank you, Kara. Thank you, Kara. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Hurd, and as Kara said, I'm one of the co-chairs of DSA's National Labor Commission. I'm calling in tonight from Chicago, Illinois, where for my day job, I'm currently supporting the nurses of one of our city's largest hospitals on an open-ended ULP strike. I'm here to talk to you about why we at DSA believe the labor movement is so important and what we have planned for the years to come. Over the last 4 years, we've tried our hardest to take advantage of the quietly pro-worker elements of the Biden administration and build our foundation on the shop floor in a huge range of industries across the country. DSA members have started unions in workplaces that many claimed were unorganizable and have been elected as leaders within unions that were once considered hopelessly corrupt. Our comrades have been able to accomplish these things because not only do we have a vision for a world where workers lead, but because we are part of a network that shares skills and resources and lessons. Unfortunately, we are not strong enough yet to contest power in national elections, and the two options currently available to people are to either stay the course as standards of living deteriorate or try to blow the whole thing up. The re-election of Donald Trump is undeniably bad for this country and us as workers. He will hurt us on the consumer level with tariff warfare and deregulation. He will hurt us as beneficiaries of any sort of social safety net, and he will hurt us by attacking the protections labor law currently provides and push rulings rightward. But the election of Trump, the most ludicrous caricature of a boss as president, sets us up to frame our politics for millions of people and gear up to do what we've been training ourselves to do this whole time: fight the boss. As organizers, we know that bad bosses radicalize workers. The key is to offer American workers en masse a path away from despair and nihilism and reactionary anti-solidaristic conclusions about the world. Our vision of politics is one of empowerment that comes from building things together. Our success in the labor movement these past few years has come from our belief that leadership should come from the shop floor. And that's not because we think it's a nice thing to let the workers decide. It's because we know that ownership of a project comes from getting your hands dirty and that our coworkers have the intelligence and skills to lead. We just need to give them opportunities to practice. DSA is where I learned how to organize, how to operate within a real democracy, how to keep fighting after experiencing failure. This is a place where we bring our ideas, make the case for them, try them out, and then learn from experience what works and what doesn't. Then we share what we learned. Right now, there are once again large swaths of people who are despairing over the failure of the Democratic Party. We know the only good things the Dems did, they did because we forced them to. Where they failed, it was because working people could see that even when they tried to do populism, they were full of shit. The current leadership of most of our unions has many of the same bad habits as the Democrats, which is why we need to reform and take leadership within those unions to transform them into the fighting forces led democratically by workers. In 2025, the NLC is officially launching 2 campaigns to fight the boss. Our Organize Amazon priority will take on the world's biggest boss, Jeff Bezos, by directing resources towards assisting in organizing at Amazon warehouses and hubs across the US. Our May Day 2028 project will form a committee to coordinate political education and actions leading to May Day 2025 and chart a course for seizing the moment that May Day 2028 represents. Let me be clear. Just because Sean Fain has encouraged unions to line up their contracts to expire on May Day 2028 doesn't mean there will magically be a general strike. May Day 2028 will be however much or little as socialists in the labor movement organize it to be. This will require the reform of our unions and new organizing and pushes within existing unions to fund that new organizing. This will require salting and long-term career commitments to strategic industries. This will require us to build bridges between our unions and solidarity networks that facilitate supporting each other's fights so we can wield power greater than the sum of our parts. So if you've just joined or rejoined or you're thinking about joining tonight, welcome. Let's get to work.
Yes, I am so fired up. I'm so fired up. I cannot wait. Let's go. I'm so ready for May Day 2028. I don't know about you all. It sounds like just by reading the chat that you all are hyped as well. So if y'all haven't joined DSA by now, I think you definitely should. So next up here, we've got 2 amazing folks that are about to talk about some of the work that our international committee is doing, because again, we are not fighting just for a better world here at home in the United States in the belly of the beast. What we do here is impacting everything across the world. So to talk a little bit more about that, I'm going to pass it over to Haley.
Thank you, Kara. Hi, my name is Haley Soa. I use they, she pronouns. I'm a member of Detroit DSA, and I am one of the 2 International Committee Palestine Subcommittee co-chairs. As called for by the Palestine-led BDS movement, we have taken on a Stop Fueling Genocide campaign to build a consumer boycott of Chevron to pressure them to stop doing business in apartheid Israel. Chevron is Israel's largest supplier of natural gas. As such, they actively participate in the pillaging of Palestinian natural resources while generating hundreds of millions of dollars in tax money for the Israeli government. Chevron is starting to crack. At the beginning of October, Chevron announced that their planned expansion of the Leviathan gas field in the Eastern Mediterranean will have to be suspended due to the quote-unquote security situation in the region. A worldwide grassroots movement can drive Chevron out of Palestine with a methodological and targeted approach at the company's earnings and exposure. Chevron is able to leave the Israeli market at any time, as they only entered it in 2020 when they acquired Noble Energy. With this campaign that we are running, the first ask that we are giving is to stop getting your gas at Chevron gas stations. Because Chevron is a consumer-facing brand with name recognition, we can develop a mass campaign around it. This helps encourage relational organizing to push people to organize in their own networks and talk to everyone out there who supports Palestine but isn't yet active in the movement. We could then bring people up the ramp of engagement, recruiting them into DSA, so we can include them into the campaign by setting up teach-ins, art builds, picket lines, and much more. This goes hand in hand with political education, linking Chevron's actions to Zionism's century-and-a-half-long ecocide. We are already seeing DSA chapters really deep into their Chevron campaigns. With the relocation of Chevron's headquarters to Houston, Texas, Houston DSAers have had their hands full organizing banner builds, teach-ins about Chevron's complicity, and protests against Chevron's destruction of Palestinian land. DSA members in East Bay, California, which is where the former location of the Chevron headquarters was, have also participated in rallies against Chevron. I encourage everybody on this call to get involved in the Stop Fueling Genocide campaign, which you can do at the link as should be somewhere in the chat. I encourage people, if you want to join the movement for a free Palestine, then you should also join DSA because a better world is possible. I will also be passing this on to Claire to talk about Cuba.
Hey, everybody, welcome. So happy to see so many comrades here. There we go. Can I get my slides too, actually? That would be awesome. There you go. So I'm Claire Bleckman. I have been with Boston DSA since 2017, and I am co-chair of the National Cuba Solidarity Working Group, along with Danny Valdez from New York City. If you are looking for a way to make a material difference for actual existing socialism and socialists, look no further than our comrades in Cuba. DSA has been organizing to lift the embargo on Cuba since 2019, and in 5 short years, we have become a powerhouse in the Cuba Solidarity movement. Established orgs like the National Network on Cuba look to us for material support and strategy, and we have great relationships with the Cuban Embassy in DC and the UN mission in NYC. We can really make the DSA difference here too, because we are the only Cuba Solidarity org to have chapters in all 50 states. Our union members and elected officials have introduced and passed resolutions against the embargo and against Cuba's inclusion in the state sponsors of terrorism list in states like Massachusetts, Michigan, Illinois, New York, and more. We are in the middle right now of a campaign for Biden to take Cuba off the state sponsors of terror list. He just needs to write one letter to do this. He doesn't even need Congress's approval. We've sent hundreds of letters to our representatives. We are going on constituent visits. We have a new sign-on letter soon to be released. So far, we've got 40 politicians, 10 partner orgs, and the UAW International Union, very exciting. Other things we're doing, last fall, 44 of us went on an historic delegation to Havana, where we met with doctors, teachers, researchers, diplomats, and even the president, Diaz-Canel himself. All the pictures that you're seeing are from that. We're planning another delegation this fall as well, so stay tuned for that one. For 60 years, the US has imposed a crippling blockade on Cuba, trying to topple their revolutionary communist government. In 2021, Trump put Cuba back on the state sponsors of terror list and made it impossible for them to access lines of credit from global banks. In just the last month, Cuba has been hit with multiple hurricanes and earthquakes. Their power grid failed because their infrastructure is aging and they can't import parts, they can't get loans, they can't get enough fuel to meet the demand. They are reusing pacemakers in Cuba because of the embargo, and they can't import solar panels to meet their clean energy goals. So imagine what Cuban socialism could achieve without US's crippling sanctions. It's our job to do our best in the belly of the beast to remove those sanctions. So join us in the Cuba Solidarity Working Group for our next monthly meeting, which is on Sunday the 24th. And let's really push Biden to act in the lame duck. Cuba sí, bloqueo no.
That is absolutely right. Cuba sí, bloqueo no. I was, Claire, that was amazing. I feel like I just relived the experience myself. That was beautiful. I was so honored to be on that delegation along with our other comrades. It absolutely changed my life forever. It's just incredible. I loved it and I can't wait to go back. So please sign those letters. Now, next up here, I am so honored to introduce our next speaker because as I mentioned earlier today, I am here in Louisville, Kentucky, and I cannot wait to introduce my fellow former co-chair of Louisville DSA, my amazing comrade from Louisville DSA, our future Metro Council member in Louisville, Kentucky, the incredible JP Lininger.
Thank you, Kara. Yeah, as Kara mentioned, we just won this election. We ran a campaign openly as a socialist, as a movement candidate. People in Louisville knew that I was a former co-chair of Louisville DSA, that I had the bullhorn and talking at rallies and at protests and on solidarity picket lines for our workers. And with all of that, ran against a candidate that was an incumbent, endorsed by the mayor and the governor. We were outspent more than 4-1, and we won by a more than 20-point margin. That was the only campaign to defeat an incumbent this year in Louisville in the primary for any office, and the only non-Republican challenger to win in the primary or in the general. And we did that on the power of thousands of doors knocked by organizers in DSA, taking an unapologetic class struggle message to the people across our district, saying loudly and without flinching, that workers deserve more. And we won. And what does that mean? Are our problems solved? They're not. They're not solved. Our campaign team, our chapter has an ambitious vision of putting the needs of the many back on the agenda in the city of Louisville. We want to replace food deserts with city-owned and run grocery stores. We want to turn our local government, our local gas and electric company into a locally owned public utility. We want to reorient our budget away from spending half of our money on cops and jails towards meeting people's needs, meaning the needs of the working class, things like public transit and social housing, things that belong to the working class majority. But those things aren't going to happen next year. We're going to fight. We're going to lay foundations. We're going to take our message to the rest of the council and the media, and we're going to lose votes. And we're going to lose those votes, and it's okay because we are here to build movement. We're here to build a movement for a socialist future. And when people don't listen to the needs of the working class, the things that we know the working class in Louisville want and need, well, then we're going to go to those districts and we're going to talk to the people in those districts about how their council member isn't meeting their needs. And we're going to build more socialist organizing. Because we know that they're not listening. They're not listening in our city government. We know that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden weren't listening. We know that they weren't listening about Gaza and about the needs of the working class. And we are going to go and fight. And we're going to take that message to people so that they're going to listen to the power of the working class. And that's the only way they're going to listen is organized working class power, independent political power. And our electoral program understands that these positions are not purely or even primarily legislative, that it's about politics, real politics. Politics independent of wealthy donors and corporate bosses who control what is and what isn't allowed in city halls and state capitals and in Washington, D.C., whether the red team or the blue team holds the gavel. So when we lose a vote, we're going to go fight. And we're going to take our show on the road because we're fighting for a future worth living in, a future they're never going to hand us that we have to organize for. And that's only possible through independent political power. Through that independent political power, that is only possible through our democratic member-based movement here in DSA. It's only possible understanding our relationship to the Democratic Party, where we are tolerated only to a point, only until we challenge the status quo. Jabal Bowman lost his race in the primary in Congress because of AIPAC spending, but also because Democrats drew a map knowing he would be vulnerable. Over 50 Democrats just voted to give Donald Trump the power to call leftist orgs terrorists, knowing we're on that list. Only independent political power outside of the Democratic Party can fight against that. And that's only possible through the power of our membership, of you being involved in DSA, fighting with us, being involved in building your chapter, building socialist organizing. I want to quote Zoran Mamdani, who's running for New York City mayor with DSA. I do this all the time because I think about this quote all the time. An interview that Zohan gave to Jacobin, where he said, you go into that chamber and the whole way it is set up is to bend you to power. All of the incentives are there to bend you to power. And the only thing that stops us from doing so is not some individual brilliance or anything about who we are as people. What will stop us from doing so is that we are members of what will soon become the largest socialist organization the United States has ever seen. The power of that organization is in our rank and file membership. Something I say every day to people who are excited about our win in this Metro Council seat is that I am just some guy. And only independent political power is going to change and fight against a system ready to stamp out anyone that wants to build change. I've been on the left for a long time. The DSA has been my political home since the fall of 2019. Joining DSA changed my life because for the first time, I found a serious political left program that wants to fight for power and build mass movement, that wants to take our message to the mainstream. And we're going to do that by fighting through any barriers we have inside the Democratic Party, outside the Democratic Party, something we organize for here in DSA. A lot of us talk about the dirty break. There's a lot of questions that people have is about our relationship to the Democratic Party. And we're organizing and we're experimenting. We're seeing what works and what doesn't to build independent political power When we talk about the dirty break, a lot of the times I've mentioned is my belief is that it's not our choice. That one day the Democratic Party is going to be done with us if we're doing our job right and kick us out, find ways to fight us off the ballot lines. And so we're going to have to build structures here in DSA ready for that moment in which that's coming. In some ways, it may already be started. And we have to be ready for that fight. And that's only possible if we're building mass movement, if we have the power of membership that can fight back, that we have members who are ready to be involved and say that DSA is their political home too. And so I'm really excited about this political moment because we understand here in DSA more than anywhere else, maybe the only place that understands that Donald Trump is a symptom of capitalism, that Donald Trump is a symptom of a broken political and social order and economic order, and that's going to produce a Donald Trump or someone worse than Donald Trump, and that only changing that system is going to be our way out. The only way out is through, and a better world is possible, but only if we dedicate ourselves to organizing for it. And I hope you're going to join me in our work here in DSA, where I am when I'm not a socialist elected, when I take that hat off and I'm at a DSA meeting, I am just a DSA member. And that's the democratic power of our organization. And I want you to be a DSA member with me. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. JP, you did. Yes, you said everything. That was incredible. Now, if you are, say, still in college, say you are getting your your graduate degree, guess what? You can still organize on campus right now with the YDSA, and tonight, we've got our two incredible YDSA co-chairs here to tell you all about it. So I am going to kick it over to our incredible YDSA co-chair, Erin, coming to you from Florida.
Hey, y'all. Love seeing all the YDSA hype in the chat. YDSA, for those who don't know, is the Young Democratic Socialists of America, the youth section of DSA, with thousands of members at over 120 campuses across the country and growing. Over the past year, YDSA chapters have been at the forefront of a fight for a better world, mounting campaigns for Palestine, trans rights, and so much more. Dozens of chapters participated in our Trans Day of Action in March, capping off our Trans Rights and Abortion Now campaign. Even more chapters participated in the student encampments for Palestine, which made international headlines earlier this spring, many of which have evolved into campaigns pushing for divestment from genocide and an academic boycott of Israel. YDSA has also held several mass strategy calls this year to help cohere the student movement around key political moments, demonstrating our commitment to mass democracy. This includes a recent 2024 election debrief where hundreds of YDSA members participated in a mass discussion on the direction of our movement during the incoming Trump administration. Now, I'm going to pass it off to my other co-chair, Carlos, to tell you what YDSA is up to as well.
All right. Thank you, Erin. Out of this mass election debrief, our YDSA chapters have jumped into action and organized post-election town halls on their campuses, where chapters invite curious and concerned students to socialism and plug them into their respective campaigns. YDSA chapters have demonstrated clear leadership on their campuses and amongst their campus coalitions in charting a path forward. At a moment when so many young people feel rightfully confused and anxious, YDSA is providing clarity and vision at a time when people really need it. So we're proud to be the stable political home for the students and young people who make up the multiracial working class. We will continue our campaigns for Palestine, but also great labor work on college campuses. Just last year, we collaborated with and helped Starbucks Workers United get to the bargaining table by successfully pressuring college campuses to remove Starbucks off their campuses. We are also organically building bridges with other great unions like United Auto Workers through our work mentoring over 20 union drives on campuses across the country. Despite Trump's victory, we seek to provide support for the many more students and workers who will need it. So if you are a student or know a student in high school, community college, or university, have them join or start their own YDSA chapter. Aaron and I want young people to have a safe left-wing space in their community where they could win campaigns for a better future. Thank you.
Y'all, the work that YDSA doing is so inspiring. I am not gonna lie. I really wish that I had a YDSA in my high school and in my college when I was there. Maybe I would have stuck around in college a little bit longer than I did if there was a YDSA. I don't know. But thank you all so much for sharing. If y'all are on campus, make sure you either join your YDSA chapter, or if you are not, you guess what? You can always start your own. It is totally possible. That's the other thing that's fantastic about YDSA or DSA. If there's not a chapter, you can get a group of people together and start your own. It is totally possible to do it. You can organize. It's the best part about it. So next up here, we've got Maria. She's coming to us from Florida, from Miami, and she is going to talk about the trans right and bodily autonomy work that is happening here in DSA, and especially the work that she is doing herself down in Florida.
All right, thank you so much. Good evening, comrades. My name is Maria. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a proud trans woman, a proud socialist, and a proud co-chair of Miami DSA and my chapter's Bodily Autonomy Working Group. Tonight, I'm here to talk about DSA's Trans Rights and Bodily Autonomy Campaign Commission, or TURBA. TURBA was founded after DSA voted at its 2023 convention to wage a priority campaign in defense of trans rights, abortion, LGBTQ rights, and bodily autonomy. Republican state legislatures have waged fierce attacks on our right to control our own bodies, and a Democratic administration did little to stop them. So we as socialists understood that the only way we could ever have a hope of defending our rights is by going on offense against the far right. And that's what chapters across the country did. Next slide. So let me tell you about some of what DSA has achieved since starting TURBA. We held a national launch call attended by hundreds of members, featuring trans journalist Aaron Reed and the first trans state legislator in Montana, Zoe Zephyr. We have successfully passed trans sanctuary laws in several cities, including in deep red states like our comrades in Mizzou YDSA and Mid-Missouri DSA, who proposed and passed a trans sanctuary law in Columbus, Missouri. Our YDSA members have made gains on college campuses in Florida, like comrades at University of Central Florida, who successfully pressured administration to lower the cost of Plan B, and comrades at my school, Florida International University, who got our student government to condemn Florida's trans bathroom ban. We also held a National Day of Action this year on Trans Day of Visibility, when over 100 chapters across the country held rallies, canvasses, and town halls in support of trans liberation. Next slide. I also want to take some time to talk about what I've been working on for the past year, which is Florida DSA chapter's campaign to pass Amendment 4 and codify abortion rights in the state constitution. This struggle became especially urgent after a cruel 6-week abortion ban went into effect in May of this year in Florida. Chapters across Florida, from the Panhandle and Pensacola DSA to South Florida and my own Miami DSA, we knocked on thousands of doors in support of Amendment 4, and we did so with our own canvases, our own flyers, and an outright socialist message, yes, including in Miami. Next slide. I'm also proud that my chapter held events for trans and abortion rights beyond the ballot box as well. We held a concert and drag show to raise funds for abortion clinics that were being levied heavy fines by the DeSantis administration. We held our Queers for Palestine panel, which brought together Palestinian and anti-Zionist Jewish organizers to discuss pinkwashing. We held a self-managed abortions training, and we held a rally for abortion rights in which FIU students marched to the polls to vote yes on 4. And we handed them Miami DSA voter guides to help them with the rest of their ballot. Next slide. Now, of course, it's not all good news. On November 5th, despite 57% of Floridians voting in favor of it, Amendment 4 sadly failed because it did not meet the anti-democratic 60% threshold for referendums in Florida. On the same day, Donald Trump, a racist and misogynist who opposes abortion and trans rights, returned to office thanks to a disastrous campaign by the Democratic Party. but the work of DSA members across the country in big and small chapters, blue and red states, workplaces, and college campuses gives us reason to hope. More than that, it gives us reason to fight. Our comrades in New York DSA chapters won Prop 1 to guarantee trans and abortion rights. Comrades in Missouri won Amendment 3 to secure abortion rights. Comrades in cities like Seattle, Louisville, Atlanta, and Portland elected socialists to state and local office. And across the country, abortion rights and socialists won in many of the same areas that the pro-capitalist, pro-genocide, failing Democratic Party crashed and burned. Next slide. Our comrades in Turba and in chapters across the country show us abortion and trans rights are popular, and we can fight back, not by following the Democrats, but by waging fighting campaigns as open socialists in defense of the working class and oppressed peoples. So I urge you, comrades, to please get involved in Turba and attend their national call on November 23rd at 4 p.m. Eastern to learn how to get involved. Thank you, comrades, and please, let's fight back. Let's go.
Yes, let's absolutely go. Oh no, my camera keeps going off and on. Let's absolutely go. Thank you so much, Maria, for that incredible update. I am so inspired by the work that you all are doing in Turba, and especially the work that you all did in Florida. Also, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. It's so like undemocratic that Florida has this weird 2/3 thing. Like, come on, like the majority of Floridians like wanted that act. Like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Well, that needs to be changed. But incredible work that you all did, and I am sorry that Florida's just undemocratic. It's just bullshit. But next up here, I am really excited to introduce our comrade here from the Green New Deal Campaign Commission. This is Batul. She is incredible. She is a New York City organizer and on the steering committee of the Green New Deal Campaign Commission, fighting for a Green New Deal and a beautiful world for all. Take it away, Batul.
Thanks, Kara. Hey, everybody. Good to see you all tonight. So yeah, I'm here to rep our eco-socialist organizing across chapters. I think we all know on this call, it's clear the climate and ecological crisis is upon us. We experience it every day, whether it's hurricanes sweeping inland through Appalachia to we're on the 14th straight month of record-breaking temperatures on this planet, and even pandemics like COVID. What's also been clear for decades now, and especially in the last few weeks and months, is that neither Democrats nor Republicans are moving at the speed or the scale required by the climate crisis. Neither party has a vision of a decarbonized future that repairs our historic inequities of race, of class, and of place, and actually addresses people's everyday concerns. And I think this was really reflected in the Harris campaign's doubling down on massively unpopular policies like continued genocide in Palestine, which is absolutely a climate issue, and new fracking and fossil fuel development, while completely rejecting or even acknowledging the cost of living crisis, which ultimately drove Trump to victory. So we're in a crisis, and as socialists, our task is to organize at a scale that matches the stakes that we face. As DSA eco-socialists, we're running a national campaign called Building for Power, which is focused on providing chapter level support, so support in chapters across the country, to ensure that our campaigns, our socialist campaigns to win public and democratized systems, are laying a path forward that will actually get us to the green and healthy future that we all deserve across borders. So Building for Power campaigns always start with an analysis of our existing local labor and community demands to expand public goods, and build a real constituency, a real fighting constituency for climate action that's ready to demand more. And within Building for Power, we have 4 categories: green social housing, so connecting the climate crisis and housing crisis, building solidarity between tenants and local unions. Shout out to the Metro DC chapter who are working with socialists in office on a bill to create an office of social housing that provide green and healthy housing and build with local trades. We do have transit campaigns, so building solidarity between transit riders and transit workers for systems that actually get people where they need to go safely and on time. Shout out to Chicago's Fix the CTA, which is aligning transit riders' demands of a system that doesn't work for them with transit workers' demands. Also, Louisville's Get Off the Bus campaign, incredible organizing in Louisville. We have public power campaigns, so democratizing our energy system and ensuring we actually meet our climate goals, which is just not happening right now. So in New York State, we've made historic wins that would allow the state to actually build out a publicly owned renewable grid, and most importantly, actually hold it to its commitments. Milwaukee has its Power to the People campaign. And then we also have public spaces campaigns, investing as we should be in education and leisure and public space as a common good and part of our green future. So shout out LA, which has done incredible base building, organizing, running socialist candidates for school board and more. St. Louis Green New Deal for public schools, which is organizing to force tax-exempt private universities to pay their fair share and fund our public education system. And we have a strategy for these public sector focused campaigns. We're running them to reach people who are, one, most dependent on these public services, two, connect cost of living demands with rapid and just decarbonization that we need to see, and also three, orient our climate demands against capitalism, which is, of course, the driver of all of these overlapping crises. So I know that it's easy to feel a lot of dread around the climate crisis, but the best thing to do is to get organized and get involved. If your chapter doesn't have an eco-socialist working group, you can start one. If you do have an eco-socialist working group and you don't know where to start, you can reach out to us and we'll help you figure out your strategy and campaign and get it off the ground. So thank you all so much for being here. Excited to continue organizing together. We have a world to win.
That is absolutely right, Batul. We do have a world to win, and I hope that world, we got to make sure that that world is actually here, that that world is not on fire, that that world is not drowning, that world is not drowning and on fire at the same time. And that is why we have to organize. Now, next up, I am so honored, so excited to introduce the incredible organizer, the incredible co-director of a movement that took the world by storm this past year, this electoral cycle. She is a member of Detroit DSA and the co-director of the Uncommitted national movement. Let me introduce Layla Elabed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being on this Zoom call. My name is Layla Elabed. I'm the co-founder and co-director of the Uncommitted National Movement. I'm also a first-generation Palestinian American and a grassroots political organizer here in Dearborn, and of course, a proud member of Detroit DSA, as well as a member of a larger movement that is determined to build a world that is rooted in justice, equity, and peace through the liberation of Palestine. We all know the stakes in this contentious political moment. Despite one of the most successful short-term electoral campaigns in Michigan, the Listen to Michigan campaign that earned over 101,000 uncommitted votes in the Michigan presidential primary in February, and 2 delegates to the DNC. This sparked a nationwide movement to send a message to President Biden, his administration, and the leadership of the Democratic Party that they needed to change their immoral and disastrous policy on Gaza. They failed us. They failed the over 700,000 plus Democrats who voted uncommitted in the presidential primaries. They failed the over 100,000 Americans who signed the petition for an arms embargo during the DNC. They failed the 75% of their own voter base that has demanded a permanent ceasefire. This administration and the leaders of the Democratic Party failed to defeat Trump despite our warnings, despite that we have been telling them since February to change course, to change path, despite Uncommitted spending 10 months warning Democrats that if they didn't change their policy, they would help elect Trump. And they didn't listen to us or anyone else warning them, cozying up to billionaires, Republicans, or Netanyahu was going to prevent them from building a winning coalition. Right now, we have we face a choice, not just about who leads this country, but about what kind of country we want to live in. Do we want a country that continues to support endless wars, that perpetuates violence and occupation abroad while failing to meet the basic needs of our people here at home? Or do we want to build a movement that puts working people and communities first, a movement that stands for peace, dignity, and justice, not just for some, but for all? And that's why I'm here to talk to all of you about the urgent need to build the Democratic Socialists of America, to strengthen our collective voice, and to build a movement that can challenge the status quo and reshape the Democratic Party from the ground up. If we're going to win, if we're going to defeat Trump's mega administration and the forces of fascism, we need to understand that our struggles are intertwined. We cannot fight for the future of our communities, for the dignity of working families, while ignoring the consequences of war and violence abroad. I've been an organizer for a long time. The first time I ever got involved in electoral organizing, I was 12 years old, door knocking along my big sister Rashida. Registered this way before she was, a state rep or even a congresswoman, registering Arab Americans to vote. And for years, I've worked to build power within my community. But now something has changed. We're watching for over a year now the heartbreaking images of suffering in Gaza, in Palestine, and now in Lebanon. And we witnessed the ongoing destruction of Palestinian homes and lives. Our community has been silenced for too long. This is a 75-year silencing of our communities. It's been impossible to focus on anything else when we know that our own government is complicit in fueling this violence. This war, the ongoing bombing of Gaza and now Lebanon, is not just a foreign issue, it is our issue. It's our moral issue. It's an economic issue. It's our tax dollars funding this violence. And we will not stand while our government, our party, continues to support it. That's why, I see we need the Democratic Socialists of America. DSA is not just about putting out a few good policies. It's about organizing to fundamentally change the system. It's about building the kind of movement that will make it impossible for politicians to ignore the voices of the people. A movement that fights for working families, that fights for peace, that fights to end American imperialism. We're fighting for the kind of future where our communities can thrive, not just survive. Where no child will live in fear, where no parent has to wonder if their loved ones will make it home safe, whether it's in Detroit, Dearborn, or in Gaza. When we build the power of DSA, when we build a grassroots movement that is truly connected to the people, we win. We've seen it, for example, with the United Auto Workers. They set the example of what it means to organize, to fight for the needs of working families, to demand a better life for all of us. And now it's time for us to follow that example, to expand the power of the working class and the people. We cannot keep electing people who serve the interests of rich and powerful, who choose war over peace, who choose corporate profits over the needs of working families. Our struggles are connected, whether we're talking about we're fighting for a living wage, affordable healthcare, or the end of violence that has claimed so many lives in abroad, in Palestine, in Lebanon, in the West Bank. We're fighting for the same thing, a world where we can live with dignity. And this fight isn't just about the next 4 years and the fight against Trump's MAGA administration. If we're going to change the system, we need to build the power of democratic socialism in this country. We need a movement that puts working people first and demands justice in every corner of the globe. Right now, we face a critical moment. The Democratic Party has lost its way. Has lost its touch with the very communities that once fueled its progress, communities like mine, communities that know the pain of war and occupation firsthand. If we're going to win, we're going to need to demand a change in policy. We need leaders of the Democratic Party that stand for the people, not for the war profiteers. we need to organize, mobilize, and demand right now, while Biden is still in power, that his administration stop funding violence with our tax dollars. And we can't do this alone. We need the strength and power of every person on this call. We need the workers of this country to help us make the change we need. And we need the power of DSA to build a movement that just won't stop Trump, but will stop the endless wars and policies of violence that has plagued us for so long. And I also feel like at this moment, like just not talking about specifically or broadly about Trump's MAGA administration, but we saw just a glimpse of what could happen under a Trump administration with the House bill from earlier this week that was thankfully, voted out. But this is just an ongoing plan that Trump and the same architects of Project 2025 have in store, especially for those who are advocating for Palestinian human rights under Project Esther, which is a plan to curb those advocating for Palestinian human rights. And it really, really puts Palestinian advocacy groups and those supporting Palestinian advocacy a target, and includes students who are now under Trump's administration are going to be threatened with deportation if they are here on visas. And so I asked today, will you stand with the movement to build a future with peace and justice and dignity, not just words, but a reality for everyone? Will you help us push the kind of change that ends the wars, that supports the working class, and that builds a democratic socialist future where we'll all thrive? And will you stand to make sure that not another bomb is dropped in our names as Americans where our tax dollars are funding this? And I'll just end with, let's unite, let's organize, and let's build a movement that not only will be a opposition to Trump's MAGA administration, but will build the future we deserve. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Layla, and thanks to all of our speakers tonight. My name is Megan Romer. I am one of the national co-chairs of Democratic Socialists of America, and hopefully by now you've all joined. But if you haven't, please, the link is in the chat, dsausa.org/join. We've heard tonight about a lot of different problems and a lot of different ways DSA is solving them, but all those problems come back to one thing, and that's capitalism. And it matters that we work together and put ourselves into motion to fight the one big problem causer. So I want to see you all joining DSA. I want to see you connecting with your local chapter, because that is where the vast majority of DSA work happens. I see a lot of people in the chat who have been asking about, so what do I pick? All of this sounds amazing. Go see what your local chapter is doing. Try some different things. Your chapter wants to help you plug into work right now, this week. Chapters across the country are having new member orientations, are having What is DSA presentations. They're having like socials in the park and cooking out. Go eat with people. It's really fun. So I want to see everybody in this chat joining DSA, because DSA needs you. It's not just about us as a large number of people, though that is very important. It's also about the individual story that you have to bring, your struggles with capitalism, your struggles with your landlord and your boss and your mayor and your electric company. It's about your specific skills. Whatever you are, maybe you have graphic design skills, maybe you're really good on the phone, maybe you have a truck. I hope you have a truck. We need you. Your DSA chapter needs you. All of those unique things about you bring so much to our organization, and your voice is valued, and what you want to work on is valued, and you can bring that, and you can find people to work on it with you. There are so many avenues by which we can fight the endless horrors of capitalism, and we need you in that fight with us. So yes, get in your truck and join DSA, dsausa.org/join. I will see you at a meeting sometime soon, I hope.
Thank you so much, Megan. Thank you so much, you all. This has been an incredible time, an incredible call. I hope you all enjoyed it as well. As you heard Megan, if you haven't joined already, what's stopping you? What's stopping you? You've heard so many incredible people tonight. And so join already. What's stopping? There is going to be a recording of this call. It is up on YouTube. We'll send it out by email as well. So if you've got friends or family or others, some coworkers, maybe others that you are just walking by in the street where you're like, hey, I just joined this call and I was so excited about DSA. You should watch this too. Guess what? We got a link for you. So check back online and maybe a little bit for however long it takes to upload this to YouTube. You can share it with them, spread it far and wide. We're not going anywhere. 2025 is coming up soon. And guess what? Trump's not going to stop us. We're not going anywhere. We're just going to keep growing. We're going to keep getting stronger. We're going to stand side by side in solidarity. We're going to have that hope in spite of all the fear that we know is kind of deep down in there, because we're not going to stop. We're not going to let that take over. We're not going to. And we're going to keep fighting. We're going to win. We're going to win that better world that we know is possible. So join DSA today. I'm really excited to see you at that next meeting. I am really excited to see you at this next mass call that we're going to do at some point in the near future. Join DSA today. There's lots of links in the chat. Follow us on all the social medias. We're now on Blue Sky. Get off Twitter. We're on Blue Sky now. And fight with us. We're going to play a little more music on our way out. Drop in the chat what your favorite part was. But if not, I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you again for joining us. Join DSA. Have a wonderful night. Thanks, y'all.